Hi, my name is Emma Sage, and I'm the Technical Services Manager at CQI. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about a common language of processing. At CQI, we like to talk about processing by way of the fruit anatomy, and so that's what I'm introducing to you today. Taking a step back to talk about the whole coffee fruit, it is classified as a drupe, and you might be thinking that doesn't look like a coffee fruit here. And in fact, it's not. It's a peach, which is the classic example of a drupe. Some other drupes include almonds, pistachios, coconuts, and even olives, including coffee. Drupes are all over the place, and they share some characteristics. They're all indehiscent, and that means the seed doesn't easily just come out of them. They have a fleshy outer pulp, which is consisting of the exocarp and the mesocarp, and they have a hardened endocarp with the seed inside. Another characteristic they share is that the ripening typically stops once the fruit is harvested. Now, getting to the anatomy of coffee, we see here a coffee cherry with 2 seeds inside. And on the right, you will see there are 3 parts called out in this image. There's the pericarp, the seed, and the embryo. Now, the pericarp, it's basically the fruit. It's differentiated into the exocarp, the mesocarp, and the endocarp. And the seed is made up of endosperm. Also, inside of the seed, there is the embryo, and it's usually located near the surface. Now, we have an image here of the typical yellow coffee cherry. It's containing 2 seeds, but you can also have cherries with different numbers of seeds. Getting into more specifics, this diagram shows the coffee fruit and seed anatomy from 2 different perspectives. One side, on the left, is the technical terms, and you may be familiar with those as a coffee professional already. Now, on the right, we have the botanical terminology, which include some words that I used on the last slide. You can see on the botanical side, again, we have the pericarp, which is made up of 3 parts, the exocarp, the mesocarp, and the endocarp. And if you look on the left side of this diagram, on the technical end, you can see that the exocarp is the skin. The mesocarp is the pulp and mucilage, and the endocarp is the parchment or hull. Those are the 3 parts of the pericarp, and you can sort of think of all of those as parts of the fruit. Now, you can move down on this diagram to look at the parts of the seed. There is the spermoderm, otherwise known as the chaff or silver skin, the endosperm, which again is the seed itself, makes up most of the seed, and the embryo. So let's look at the definitions and compare them. We have the botanical term on the left, the technical term in the middle, and the definition of those on the right of this table. The exocarp, again, is the skin or peel of the fruit, and it's the outermost tissue of the fruit, comprising of maybe even a single layer of cells with thin cell walls. The mesocarp, otherwise known as the pulp and mucilage, is the fleshy part of the fruit between the parchment and the skin. It's hard when it's unripe, and then it softens as the fruit matures. And finally, the endocarp is the parchment, and that's the innermost layer of the pericarp, and it completely is surrounding the coffee seeds. Talking about the seed, we have the technical term, well, it's the seed or the bean. And then the definition is, you can think of this also comprising of 3 parts, the perisperm, the endosperm, and the embryo. So both the fruit and the seed have 3 parts botanically. The spermoderm, otherwise known as the chaff, is the outermost covering of the seed. The endosperm is this large volume, and it represents, well, everything inside of it ends up being roasted and therefore making its way into our cup. They have all of the precursors of the flavor and aroma in the endosperm. And then the embryo is what develops into the coffee seedling if conditions are right. And it contains some storage reserves, but it also is dependent on the endosperm for growth. And that means that tiny embryo basically exists on the storage of the endosperm. And when it starts to grow, the endosperm is its readily available food that enables it to grow and survive. Understanding those botanical terms will really help us to understand the processes that occur in post-harvest processing. And at CQI, we like to think of all processing methods through that lens. Now you know the language we use at the Coffee Quality Institute to talk about the coffee fruit and seed. This information is a part of our CQI Q processing course. The level 1 is the generalist course, and it's sort of like this information, only there's lots more. We have coffee tastings, we cover harvesting, sorting, processing methods, chemistry, and a lot more. And it's designed for those of us who work on the consuming end of the supply chain. We also, as a part of our Q processing curriculum, have a level 2 and a level 3 course. Our level 2 course is the on-farm level, and it's designed for people who are working regularly with processing at the mill, and hopefully with some decision-making power so that they can implement the knowledge that they've gained in the class. And the level 3 class is really for processors, mill owners or managers, and innovators and leaders in processing. If you would like to check out more about our Q processing and our other curriculums, please check our website.